It's Tuesday, August 27th, and I'm just wondering, what can baseball do about the incredible rash of severe pitching injuries in the game? Well, a man who fixes those injuries is with us next. Stay here for the Arm Doctor.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
Star Power Smart Home Solutions, where cutting-edge technology meets effortless living. Control your entire home with just a tap on your smartphone. Adjust the lights, set the perfect temperature, and ensure your home is secure, all from the palm of your hand. Star Power has the experts that will transform your house into a secure, smart home. Experience the ultimate solution in comfort and security for your family. Get started at GetStarPower.com. Star Power, where innovation meets home.
For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his 2 locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney. Baseball's tried harder and harder to protect the health of pitchers' arms over the last several years, and those efforts apparently have failed miserably. And sadly, that means more work and more prosperity for our guest, Dr. Keith Meister. Dr. Meister's in his 20th year as the Rangers doctor. He is the director of TMI Sports Medicine and is most especially acclaimed for being maybe one of the 2 most renowned arm surgeons in America. Good morning, and thank you for your time.
Norm, I appreciate it. Awfully nice introduction. Thank you.
Let's start with a very small nutshell answer. It's now 50 years ago this year that Frank Jobe performed Tommy John surgery on a Dodger left-hand pitcher named Tommy John, and his name became the surgery. In a nutshell, what is Tommy John surgery?
I think that the biggest misconception is that this is some type of transplant procedure. It's not. It's a reinforcement procedure of the existing tissue on the inner side of the elbow. And the way Dr. Jobe framed it and did the initial procedure, it was a reinforcement using a tendon graft from the same side forearm of Tommy John's pitching arm.
There's more Tommy John surgeries in America, I found looking for some information, last year than any year before. Why? What's happening?
I think there's been a major cultural shift in the game of baseball itself. I think that the emphasis has gone from pitching to throwing. And I think that has been to the major detriment of baseball at all walks, at all ages, at all organized levels. And obviously we hear most about what's going on at the pro side, but look, we're seeing the same thing at the lower levels as well.
So you're doing a lot of high school pitchers?
Well, my practice now is, unfortunately, it's because of the pure volume of individuals that I've got to do at the more elite levels that I can't do as much of the high school stuff as I used to do. But yes, I mean, obviously it goes on at the the elite college, the lower college levels, the elite high school, the lower high school levels, and in numbers and incidents that we've never seen before.
Keith, not only do you do Tommy John, you also do arm surgeries. Can you give us an idea of maybe in the last year, how many arm surgeries you've performed?
Well, with respect to elbow ligament surgery, and I think that's what you're referring to, about 2 years ago, we did short of 200 in a year, so about 190 or so. Last year, we did 240. This year, we've done over 200 elbow ligaments already since the first of the year. So we're looking at probably 300 to 350 elbow ligaments this year alone.
Dear Lord, is there one pitch that's doing that?
I think that the two areas that I try and emphasize and focus on are this obsession with velocity and this obsession with baseball spin. And more importantly, not the vertical movement of the baseball, but the horizontal movement of the baseball. And I don't think there's any question that those two numbers are that we can look at objectively have significantly increased the risk of injury, not just to the elbow, but the throwing shoulder as well, the entire extremity.
Do pitchers, knowing the risk, still want to throw those pitches because that's where the money is eventually?
Well, I think yes. I mean, the short answer is yes. And I think a lot of this is how it's sold and how it's sold to these individuals as players. And that holds true for not just the elite level of your professional athlete, that also holds true for your collegiate and high school athlete, because the same carrots are being dangled, obviously at a different scale, a different magnitude.
If you were fully in charge of a professional organization's development program, what types of advice would you give those organizations about their pitchers?
I think that we would de-emphasize velocity alone, de-emphasize ball movement alone, and re-emphasize the ability to pitch. Statistically, if you look at OPS and you look at how OPS fares against high velocity pitches and high spin pitches, well, I mean, there's no question that those pitches as a singular event are very effective. Meaning if you throw a 103 mile an hour fastball, the average OPS against the hitter is going to be significantly decreased. If you add significant spin to your off-speed pitches, well, actually the OPS is even lower by average at the professional level. So there's no question in an instant in time that those are effective pitches. The problem is, and the challenge becomes, you've got 162 games. You've got 30 plus starts for a starter. You got 60 plus appearances for somebody coming out of the pen. And as a professional organization, you're hopefully controlling somebody for 6 years, and you'd like to be able to get some quality time out of these individuals. And then on the same, by the same token, for the player, you'd like them to be able to develop to a point at which they get their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow as well by staying healthy. And so that if we look statistically again at that OPS figure, and I've had these discussions and sometimes arguments with our front office staff, and I don't mean ours in particular, I mean that it's just not a sustainable way to throw a baseball. You don't take your car out and every time you get behind the wheel of your car, put your accelerator to the metal. It's not a sustainable way to drive your automobile, even if the laws would allow you to do such.
How did you become the go-to guy for arm surgeries?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I know I have a sincere passion for this, no question about it. I have, since I credit so much of this to one of my great mentors, Dr. Andrews, and obviously he's well known in the field and looked upon, I mean, other than Frank Jobe, as really the pioneer in taking care of so many of these overhand athletes. And I was very, very fortunate enough to work with him back in 92, 93. And he's been a great mentor for me since, and a great supporter of mine as well. And I owe him a tremendous amount. I can't ever thank him enough for what he's he's done for me. But I have a tremendous passion for this. It's almost an obsession, I guess you would say. And as many of us do within our own professions, and this has been my niche that's just developed and grown.
Keith Meister, last year alone, did Tommy John surgery on Baltimore closer Felix Bautista, Miami flamethrower Sandy Alcantara, former Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray, Washington star prospect King Cavalli, 4 Colorado Rockies pitchers. Do the Rockies get frequent flyer miles or surgery points?
Honestly, that was just just happened. It was that particular week. It happens. I mean, the Rockies were no better, no worse than any other organization with respect to injury. I mean, it is an epidemic. And interestingly, somebody sent me a statistic that really framed it in a better way. In 2023, there were more elbow ligament surgeries done than the entire decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meister even repaired the elbow of 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy and did a second Tommy John. He did not do the first one on Ranger star and 2-time Cy Young Award winner Jacob deGrom. Do all these people who come to you have one thing in common? They're afraid.
I think there is for many. I think every athlete is different, just like every person is different, and every individual has to some extent a different mental approach to their injuries and whatnot. But I think all these individuals, to a great extent, are supremely confident. They have a supreme confidence in themselves, their abilities, and I think that carries over to the mental aspect of recovery and rehabilitation. Which lends itself quite well to the success that hopefully they have on the backside of these things.
It is Jacob deGrom's second Tommy John.
Yeah.
There are actually some pitchers now who've had a third Tommy John surgery. How many times can you fix the same arm?
Well, I mean, you can countlessly go back in there. The problem is that every time you go issue, the challenges of the procedure are that much greater. But we're seeing that more and more and more because the life of the first surgery is nowhere near what it used to be. You used to have first Tommy Johns done in the 80s and 90s. That would be it for the career. I mean, you never heard about revision surgery or second TJs, as we say. Now it's gone from maybe in a single career episode to 10 to 12 years out of a ligament surgery to 7 to 8 years out of a ligament surgery. And now we're faced with guys that are re-tearing at 3 to 5 years after their first. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I think we've had to evolve as surgeons, as physicians, and come up with perhaps better techniques than the original procedure, more sustainable. I don't know yet if we can claim that for sure. I think we're working on those things. We've changed our procedure starting in about 2018. We started doing what's called a hybrid reconstruction, where we actually put in a synthetic, almost shoelace-looking device called an internal brace, and we marry that with the original Tommy John procedure, which utilized a tendon graft. And interestingly, the first person I did this on was Kyle Cody, one of our Texas Ranger pitchers. So I suppose we should be calling it the Cody, as he would like to lay claim to. And fortunately, he's done very well, and he's been pitching for 6 years since then. And since then, we've done about 500 plus of these, and probably 2/3 of these are in pro elbows. So the overwhelming majority are professional athletes. So they're certainly putting it to the test. Will they last longer? I don't think we have that answer yet. I don't think that's fair to say if that's going to be the case.
Keith, are pitchers any safer, any more healthy now than they were 20, 30 years ago?
I would say no, not at all. I think that they're at much higher risk just because of the nature of the game and the demands of the game. Are they bigger? Are they stronger? Do they know more about nutrition? Do they work out more year round? Are many of them more committed to overall wellness and health? I'd say absolutely so. But does that translate into a better pitcher and a safer game? No, absolutely not.
Two final questions for you.
Yeah.
Are we dealing with a motion that the human arm wasn't meant to do repeatedly? Are we dealing with an overhand pitch motion that the arm is asked to do millions and millions of times?
Well, I think there's certainly a lot to that. But I think that we can mitigate risk by taking all these factors that we've discussed already into account and try and take a more middling approach to how we approach the game and develop pitchers. A quick statistic in the senior high school or senior national perfect game in 2012, there were, I believe, 4 pitchers that threw over 94 miles an hour. In 2003, there were 57 that threw over 95. So that's a disaster. I always say it's like putting an AR-15 in the hands of a 12-year-old. It's just not responsible. You've got to give these individuals a chance to physically develop, emotionally and mentally develop, so that they become pitchers rather than, as I say, throwers. And that's where the game is failing.
Finally, how many Christmas cards might you get every year saying, Dr. Keith, thank you very much?
Well, it's really funny you say that. Ever since I started in practice, over 30 years ago, anytime a player or anybody has ever handwritten me a card, sent me a card, I've actually saved it. And I've always felt that was an extremely special, thoughtful gesture by people and patients to take the time to note and to thank you. And I've never had the heart to ever throw out anything that anybody has ever sent me. So I've always saved it.
Keith, I could talk to you forever. Thank you for your time. And most importantly, thank you for your skill.
Well, I appreciate you, Norm. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial, Retire Sooner, Better Lifestyle, by Star Power, Love Where You Live, and by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Just Wondering. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, hit follow, and then every weekday, a fresh new episode will be delivered right to you. And should you know other people who might enjoy it, please share it with friends. The executive producer and sometimes on-air talent of Just Wondering is my wife, Mary Dance. The producer is Mike Matern. The technical director is IndyCar Tim Ham from FanStream Sports. We really appreciate your being with us. This is fun to do, and I hope it's fun for you too. And realize that every day, I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.